All right, participants, welcome back from lunch. I hope you're all excited and charged for this last session of day 2 of the Science Communication Workshop. So I'm going to talk to you about some very practical aspect of doing the research, how to do the scientific data documentation and maintain your lab notebooks. This session is going to be quite useful, not for the general audience, but especially for all those who are intended to work in the labs, especially the doing the research activities, and a lot of PhD students and even people working at IT Bombay might benefit from these small tips, which is really required to pay attention. So when you are designing an experiment, right? So you have to first think about your project. Of course, many things only evolve over the time, but you have some hypothesis in your mind which you'd like to test. And for that hypothesis testing, you want to perform some experiment, and you may have to do multiple experiment for disproving those hypotheses and refining the hypothesis, and then coming back to the new objective which is going to come out from those experiments. So the framework of the project is very important, and thinking about different experiments which can drive that project is quite crucial to get started. Now, while you are doing the experiments, it becomes very important for you to realize that it's not only that what kind of results you get from your unknown reactions and the unknown sample which you want to analyze, but rather what is the data coming out from the controls for which you have some idea already. And the controls play a much more important role in your scientific experiments and research experiments as compared to your the result which you find from your unknown samples. So controls could be many types, right? It could be positive controls or negative controls, something which you are already aware of should give you the result, or something which should not show you the result. You can also have other type of specialized controls. For example, subject control in case of different type of clinical studies. You can look for different type of cohorts which can give the similar type of symptom but may not be the disease of investigation which you are looking for. The reagent controls, you can always have some other reagents which should not confound your result. For example, when you are doing specific experiments where even a reagent could change your reaction and can show you more background and stuff like that, I think it becomes important to test out different reagents as well. In instrumentation based research, lot of techniques and instruments, you need to look for the instrument sensitivity control.
Earlier thing was focused on hearing. आधीचा
Mute all the audio.
सगळा मुंबईवरती होता, मुंबई श्रीनगर. सेकंडला सगळा साऊथ वेगवेगळे.
So in terms of the instrumentation, as I mentioned, different type of data which you already are aware for method control or sensitivity control, knowing the calibration of the instruments, knowing the performance of the instrument. Some of these things are also very much important. So controls play a very important role for you to decide that your experiment, what you are performing, is it going to give you any meaningful data or not. Negative controls are more important than the positive control. Negative controls are going to tell you that whether your system is capable of measuring the absence or not. It also establishes whether your question which you are going to address is that really looking for the right answer, or whether you need to redefine that, because that is going to provide you the any type of artifacts which you can measure if the negative control is used properly. Now, the positive control, of course, is positive control. You are going to expect to see that data or that signal from that particular type of, either the reagent or the, the protein or DNA, whatever you have printed. Those you would like to see the positive signal, and you are already aware that in that given disease, this could be a biomarker, or in this particular reaction, this should show me the fluorescence. So this way, you already know that behavior of this control. So this has become the positive control. These things are very important in your experiments to know that how well your experiments are going to give you the data. There is no need to emphasize this more, that, but I'm sure you are all aware that in biological experiments or scientific experiments, you need to perform the experiments again and again. You need to make sure that you have multiple replicates, you are able to repeat the experiments, reproduce the experiments, and only then you can appreciate the beauty of those data set. Otherwise, you will get variety of variables, but they may not be truly reflecting the biological meaning of that particular experiment. Once you have reached out to a lot of experimental design, then you should also think about validating model and see like in which way you can use that for more of the prediction value for the future. So again, these are the things which in any kind of project, how you have to start thinking about, coming with a hypothesis, multiple experiments to be planned, thinking about different type of controls, planning those experiments properly, keeping that many artifacts may confound your results, replicating the results multiple times so that you are confident about the data, and finally building the models which can be used further to predict the future hypothesis. So some of these are the general guidelines for doing the any scientific experiment. But of course, a lot could be talked about those. I'm not giving you the specific detail or the discussion right now about guidance for performing the experiments, but rather here the main discussion point is how to document this information properly in the laboratory notebooks and why it is important, why we should even do that, right? Because most of the time students are very much busy in doing the experiments. They feel from morning till evening they are doing some scientific experiments, and in between time they will do something else, or why to waste time even documenting all that information. So these are different type of laboratory notebooks which is shown here. Is not just the pictures. These are the real lab notebooks which every institution provides in different kind of format, but it becomes very important document for any institute, and that becomes also like one of the legal documents to make sure that all the information is saved properly and documented properly. So complete record of procedures, reagents, data, or documentation has to be in these type of laboratory notebooks. So why this is different than your routine lab notebooks or routine notebooks which you use? It is different because, as I said, institution, when you are doing the research, they will provide you the specialized the bound lab notebooks where only you have to record your daily experimental plans, what type of hypothesis you have, thoughts you have, what results you are getting, and this actually eventually constitutes the basis for your publications, your thesis. And this is also a very important document which can enable that whether you can reproduce your data or whether any lab mate, if they want to try out something and want to learn from your experiment, can they take your lab record and they can do that experiment from their side and reproduce the same result. So lab notebook is very important because it provides the, you have to put the dates and it provides the chronological record that how from the day one of your research, from the, after 1 year, after 2 years, how your experiments have progressed, what kind of data you have obtained, what type of hypothesis you have tested, what were the positive results or negative results came on your way, how well you have tried to overcome those or troubleshoot those experiments, right? And then finally that constitutes a document which could be taken forward for any type of as a legal document towards your manuscript or your patents or any kind of thesis, degree awarding. Many of these things are all linked to this documentation. Even you'll be surprised that many of the legendary scientists, including Darwin's, even lab notebooks are still available. Those are so much documented properly that one could go and read those things and see how meticulous they were to make those observations and record every minute detail of those which actually constituted those really important evolutionary theories. So now I think you got some idea that what we are talking is about how to plan your scientific experiments, but also how to document those details in your lab notebooks, right? So now can you think about, and I'll be open to even a lot of PhD scholars here or the bachelor's to master students who are all doing the research, that what would you like to write in lab notebook? What do you think should be written in the lab notebook? Because I'm sure you are doing many things, but what you think should only go to the lab notebook? Would you like to talk about that? Can I get some hands raised? Yes, Dhanashri. And then Chintan. What do you think should be written in the lab notebooks? Please speak. I don't know if you're allowed to. Can we unmute the participants?
What are the principles of an experiment?
Can you repeat, Dhanashree?
Sir, anything we do, we should document it. I think suppose if I add a reagent in my culture, so I should write that I added this amount of this reagent in the culture. So likewise, every step.
Right. In case that experiment got failed, are you going to write that experiment or the steps in the lab notebook?
Yes, sir, because then I'll know this got me failed, so I'll not do that again.
In case you made a mistake of making a buffer, and are you going to document that?
Yes, sir, all the mistakes, because then I'll not repeat them again, and that will help me.
Okay, very good. Priyanka,
Sir,
you want to
I
talk?
would also like to add to this point that we will make sure we do not repeat the same mistakes again. That's why writing our conclusions and the unexpected outcomes we faced is also important.
All right, very good, Arif. So I think some of you are really, just for Lalit Kishore, who is also in the audience, these are even high school students, Arif. So Lalit, we have the audience from very much different background, and really good to hear that they also feel that these are important lab practices.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Niharika, you want to ask anything or tell something what you should be writing in the lab notebooks? You want to unmute and talk, Niharika? Yes. All right, Priyanka.
Yeah, sir, I want to say this case, sir, every daily experiment which I have designed, I have to write in that, and which reagent I have to take, and what experiment design or today's work I have to write in that, and along with if I make any mistake, then I will observe those mistake, what new in that, and I will also write to avoid this mistake and what's new it's coming from this changes in reagent or being late in timing. So I will also write all those minute changes.
All right, very good. Can I take one comment from Sanjana?
Yes, sir. Sir, I must write down all the procedures, and as well as I must write down the assumption after doing the experiment. Whatever I understand, I must write down that also.
And let's say if you have not obtained the result which you intended from that experiment, what will be then your next step in the lab notebook? You ran a gel, for example, did not see a band which was you were expecting, right? Or so then what will you do in the lab notebook? Sanjana can answer, or if somebody else, Dija, if you want to add something.
Maybe write that prove the following experiment wrong and then write the correct one.
Sir, I want to add that we'll write the wrong experiment also, and so then we'll try to change the conditions, like what conditions were there in the first procedure, and we'll try to optimize according to our needs, and so then that will also help.
All right, so very good. So all of you know the right things very well. Only problem is when I see the execution in the labs, that does not happen too much. People only tend to write the right experiments. They tend to forget about all the minor details. And also many times, your observation at the experiment becomes very crucial. When you have done an experiment and you did not see a band, why you did not see a band, I think those observations has to be documented in the lab notebook. That becomes very important, and that also gives you the thought for the next day of experiment, right? All right, very good. So I'll take some more comments, as I go along from some of you who have raised hand, but let me just continue. so that we can save some time. So many points which all of you have mentioned are quite accurate, that you have to write as much detail as possible, results obtained from a given experiment, and also even very minute details, like for example, any mistake you have made, any of the variation if you're monitoring in the temperature or the instrument, what type of changes have you made in the protocol? You know, if you have also discussed your results, which was not something coming, properly from that experiment, you got some input from a mentor or colleague, document that discussion with this colleague and write those points. Reference to a given protocol, you followed somebody's protocol or your own lab protocol, you can give a reference to that. Even sometime, a lot of teamwork happens in the lab when people borrow the buffers and reagents, and then at least that should be mentioned, because if whole lab is not getting the band, that could be that one person made that buffer, which is not good. So we need to even document these small details, that your reagent might be problematic. And more important point at the end is that if you have not got the result, why you did not get the result, what are the possible troubleshooting steps which you would like to see from that experiment, and if it has worked out, then you conclude that based on these observations, looks like the experiment has worked well. So these are the things which is quite important. An experimental record, I think some of you have already been discussing now, this should actually start from the objective of a given experiment. If you have any hypothesis or literature reference that why you are doing that experiment, details of the protocol, the reagents being used, the catalog details of those. Results, sometime in the more electronic day and age, now a lot of things are being done on the, your different softwares and different online tools. Still, analyze that and then paste those images and data in your lab notebook and write down that, which day you use, which tool you use, which software you use, and then how you got this data set. Finally, discussion and your own data interpretation about what you think about from that analysis, why it is interesting or not conclusive in any ways. Then a future plan for the next experiment. These are all things which is actually seems very theoretical right now, but it is actually required for every single experiment, and every individual who works in the research field should actually follow this part, because otherwise you're not able to provide some information which anybody else can reproduce that, right? So it becomes very difficult for somebody, if they want to come back and take your lab notebook and want to follow your research and want to replicate that, they cannot do that if these kind of details are not provided in quite a bit of detail. Also, there are some guidelines, like you should use even pen, not the pencil, and even preferably black pen, because these will remain for a long time in the notebooks. And this is going to, because it's going to serve as a legal document for many years, it should be preserved properly. So ideally, one should have even a checklist for lab notebooks, what all things you should, write in a given lab notebook. So now I will take some of the other people's hand which were raised already. I think let me start with Prasoon Prakash, that what things you Prasoon, think about checklist required for the lab notebook, what all things should be written up in terms of the everyday experiment.
Okay, I had one question as well, but I would like to go with this. I think lab notebook is pretty much raw in nature. So everything that can be documented from our side, either it be the raw data that we obtained, correct or wrong or whatever it be, we have to document it as it is without any manipulation. So everything has to be documented, whatever the thought process we are going about, like this is what we think and this is how we wish to proceed and this is what went wrong. So we can just write it as it is without really making any changes. If we think that something went wrong about it, we can just strike it out instead of making it look blurry. We can just strike it out and write over it, or we can just make a note somewhere else that this particular thing needs to be changed or whatever it be. So everything that we do has to be documented as it is in the raw format, without really manipulating and thinking that this should be or should not be. There is no fair thing that needs to be done. It's very much raw in nature and has to be documented as raw.
All right. So I think you're right. This should be provided as much detail as possible, and every detail has to be documented. I meant here with the check sheet, essentially what all things you should see in a lab notebook for every day's experiment. Would you like to, not you now, let me take some other students.
Sir,
So
I think, time of the experiment is very important.
what's the start time? Because we put many experiments in one go, so we should have write all the time, which should be ended with time. That is much important. And what sample we are taking.
You will be industry employable because you are providing the real detail.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So every page should start with a date on each page, right? Because you are going to see that when you are doing that experiment. Of course, all the bound lab notebook will have the numbers already, but if not, you have to make sure it is there. You have to use continuation. Don't leave the blank pages in between and keep thinking that you will write something in the future and just leave it blank at letter part. That is not good practice. You have to cross if there is any blank page there which you have missed out for some reason. You have to cross and sign that. Enter all the information every day, whatever you are doing. Summarize all the experiments which we are discussing. Even show the calculation, how you made the buffer or how you have reached to that calculation. Even first time when you are doing an experiment, complete protocol has to be written up with your handwriting, with your own detail, because you are replicating that experiment and you should not make any mistake. So as I said, a lot of details has to go in each one of those, but even this is the entire check sheet which is required when you are trying to update your lab notebook. Every page should have all these details which we are discussing right now. And anything which, as Prasoon mentioned, if anything you have made any mistake, that should be crossed out so that one could still see clearly that this information was there and you are not hiding that information, but just something you have corrected your mistake. Also, I think it's important that you should ask your advisor to review your lab notebooks and sign your lab records, right? Because it's a very important document. If you're making mistakes, I think somebody, your mentor, should be able to check that out and give you guidance for that. And this becomes a very important document from both the sides, from the advisor side and the student side. Okay, if your mentor has never checked your lab notebook, you can always say that I have not got sufficient mentorship, I have not got sufficient output because I did not get sufficient guidance, and a lot of things were lacking. On other hand, if I, as an instructor or mentor, if I see your lab notebooks are not updated, I have sufficient ground to say that you are non-productive and you can be spelled out on the lab because you're not doing the work. You might be doing a lot of work, but you have not documented it properly. You might claim for a work that, okay, you want to be first author, and I can simply disprove you cannot be first author because you don't have any documentation of data. I'm giving you the practical tips here. It's very important for you as a grad student to really document every single detail in your lab notebook if you really want to claim for it in future. This becomes a very important legal document for you to really show your productivity as you go along. So if you don't update the lab notebooks, of course, your data is not going to be reportable or acceptable. At any given time, one could really ask you that, okay, how can you file the patent from this work or the manuscript, because you don't have sufficient documentation in your lab notebook, and that does not warrant that any kind of output from that data. Even you may have data, but the data does not mean anything if it is not documented properly. So as I mentioned, I'm really spending time on this particular session knowingly, just because I want to emphasize to all of you, it is a very important and legal document, which will help you a lot in your scientific career if you do it well. So this actually, every institute, research institute, they all provide their own lab notebooks, which is the excellent source of evidence to prove that you have done an invention. All the patent offices, they look for these documents for the invention. If you are developing a new idea or prototype, you have to show that how you have reached that journey or trajectory of your data sets. Then only that will be conceived novel. And of course, this becomes finally the property of the university or the which company you work with. They are only going to keep that and preserve that, because most of the time the patents are being issued 7 years after or 10 years after, and these the documents could be asked at any given time. So they have to be documented and stored properly. So good lab notebook practices, please make sure that you have by now already understood that. You want to make sure that you provide complete details so that for example, like after 2 years you are going back to your PhD work, and then you want to perform a experiment which you want to repeat, and now you have at least sufficient detail to reproduce yourself, or somebody else joins your lab new and they want to do that experiment, and they are asking for your lab notebook. Do you have sufficient detail for that? or just, let's not hope that that will happen to any one of you, but your data, somebody puts some doubt on that data, and you are asked to repeat that data or reproduce that data, and scientific misconduct is being spelled out for you, then have you provided sufficient detail that people can check the repeatability, reproducibility, validity of the data set? That's the only document which can save you from all that, right? While writing these details, also write all the materials, reagents, their catalog number, which equipment, model, make you are using. Never tear out a page from that notebook, otherwise that may be considered that you are doing concealing the facts from your data set. Each day when you leave the lab, you should keep it in a specific location, which should be accessible by somebody else from the your group. If the next day you're not coming for some reason, somebody else want to check that out, should be accessible. All these are so much important things for when you are doing the your research. As we just discussed that, don't write out your wrong thing which you have written, don't erase, don't write over, just simply, put a cross, and then, you put your initials over there and write down your remarks why you are, crossing that data set or that information, right? So don't discard, don't replace the supplementary data. Always make sure that, you have provided sufficient detail for any corrections or edit. If you are circling something, provide a reason for that, and make sure that, anybody independently can understand that you have done this thing. It is not something which you have made a kind of a deliberate effort of concealing the fact, but rather that this is something which you'd like to correct yourself, because it is a mistake which has been made. So how to do this thing? Because it, what I just mentioned to you, that itself requires, quite a bit of amount of work, right, for writing the lab notebooks. And students are, I must say that why things are slightly deteriorating everywhere, because of the electronic gadgets, right? So now when we do one experiment, there's sufficient time in any kind of scientific experiment. The instruments will do some work for you, centrifugation will happen, incubation will happen. All of these things happens in any of the scientific experiment, and that gives you sufficient time, half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours incubation time. But that time we all tend to now quickly jump at our either mobile phone or the laptop or some devices, and that takes away all our focus. Now that is the time when you need to prepare your lab notebook simultaneously. You need to make sure that you are keeping your experiments and lab notebooks side by side. And whenever you're getting time from these, the actual reaction, you are updating those details there. In fact, you can be ahead to also think about what are going to be next steps, which you're going to write, what reagents you're going to use. All those details has to be there. So at any given point when you leave your lab at the end of the day, your lab notebook should be completely updated. And that's what, is really expected from the good grad students. I'm just showing you one image here. For several years ago, I was doing PhD. This is my own research lab in Alberta when I was doing my work, and I feel really proud of doing the work which I was doing. And every day I made sure that all my lab notebooks are being completed. I had almost 11 lab notebooks by the time I finished my PhD. 11 lab notebooks. They were all with numbers shown here in the on my shelf there. Every reagent I used to keep the labels and the dates properly. And I feel very proud of where I work. I make sure that my work space has sufficient information of what I'm doing, and a lot of my posters work on conferences and all kind of the protocols and reagents. All those things where people really used to come and visit my lab and bench and want to see that, okay, what this guy is doing and how he's maintaining these stuff. So feel pride about what you are doing. You are taking this as a career, right? So, and especially for all the grad students and PhD students, you're going to spend your 4, 5, 6 years of precious lifetime, which is very formative years for your career, just for doing this work. Spend your interest. Don't just do this something for the work. As Professor Punekar mentioned, take this thing as as a philosophy of doing some science and research. Don't just take it as a job. Otherwise, you can always do job and you can get job in many places. But if you want to do research, show interest in doing that and try to make sure that you're adhering to all these basic small details which we are talking right now. So I'm going to show you some examples of lab notebooks, what is expected. And reason I'm showing all that, as I said, I really want to address this to a lot of PhD students and grad students around here in this meeting, that what is expected from you. I have already spelled out. I'm also going to show you a couple of examples of both good and bad, and variety of things which is expected. May not be so good, but this is what the realities are. How what one should expect, right? I'm just showing you some of the scan images from long back from my own lab notebooks, which I never thought I'm going to show this to audience here, but I just kept those for my own record. this was something I was doing some micro array experiment, right? And every step I am writing, not that I want you to perform the experiment, but that if I have to do this thing myself again second time, whether I have sufficient detail stepwise mentioned for each one of those steps. Every calculation and every reagent when I'm adding, each time I do a check so that I don't miss out that I'm adding those reagents, right? And even a small detail like gently mix something, do not vortex, can become very important when you're looking at fluorescence and these type of pattern. If you don't mention those detail, second time somebody else is going to do that experiment, cannot reproduce your experiment, right? So a lot of details has to be mentioned. Every single point is actually the next step and how those important steps are should be done. And of course, I cannot talk right now about all the experimental detail here, but I'm just walking you through to show that a lot of time would have been spent of writing these steps just so that I can perform the experiment myself. Somebody else can also take my lab notebook and do these things, repeat that experiment, even independently, even if they're not talking to me. So every single detail has been.
As you are doing, Dr. Sanjeeva, I must say that it's really amazing to see how you wrote 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 kind of notation. It reminds me of something very, very important. It is very clear that you wrote this while you were doing the experiment, because I'll tell you, and everyone in the community here will in the meeting here will understand, when some people have this very bad habit of, I will remember this, so they'll say pehle kar do, that kind of an attitude. Let's do it first, and then now after the thing is over, then I'll sit down and write. Even that doesn't work. I think very important part of writing a lab notebook is write as you go, because I've seen many lab notebooks. I lab notebooks which have an instruction for you that says get off one stop before I Bombay in the bus. How do you know that the next stop? You don't know that the stop is what is the stop before, you don't know. That kind of comes only when you write later. If the solution turns blue, you're that's a wrong writing, because you should say no, mix it for 5 seconds.
Yes.
So
and these things only you will do
when
absolutely, I agree with you, Lalit, totally, and that's where I'm saying to them that write this in the real-time manner. Whereas you are doing experiments, don't deviate your mind to anything else, right? You are doing experiment, write down those details while incubation is happening, centrifugation is happening, and keep writing those, those minute points. I'll come to you, Deep, in some time. Just give me time to finish it off. All right. So again, a lot of details are. Lalit, somehow, your voice is breaking, so I don't know whether you're muted now or. All right. So let me allow to finish this thing. We will just have discussion shortly. So. Yeah, so I think I'm just showing to all the participants, not for anything to show that I would have done great work. It was just a very simple experiment which I would have done that time. But reason I was writing all these details because I want myself to repeat that experiment again. And you can think about if vial detail is mentioned, that each vial has what kind of reagents and buffers and their entire detail of that, right? So these things, and again something may not be complete here, then that is in some other page which I would have mentioned the page number to follow that page. Again, a lot of details for the steps for the post hybridization and do the array scanning. Also, like, when you are analyzing the data, many of times you are doing in your own way, how you analyze the data. Now here I have also mentioned here, when you go to the which software you use and how you stepwise you should go and perform those experiments from that analysis, in which way you can go and locate your files, annotate the files, so that anybody can follow that, right? Because, this was a practice we used to follow in Canada and in US everywhere, right? That somebody can take your lab notebook and do that experiment. You don't have to be there with them. Now, this is all the troubleshooting that I wrote from those experiments, what all things did not work out. This is the problem. This could be problem. What you should avoid, the air bubbles, we should avoid this type of buffer. These are things only comes when you are doing the experiment and writing in the real-time manner. And then I had also made the plan for my next week, that Monday to Wednesday, Thursday, how I'm going to do the experiment from which time to which time, right? So these things are all, you can think about your scientific experimental planning and documentation. Now, these are again some other details of those experiments, but I'll just skip this part. Again, few things are also print out, which you take from the manuals and from the, other parts of kit which you prepare, and then you can paste that as well in the lab notebook at the end. So this is one thing. I'll tell you another lab notebook, which is from one of my colleagues. I'll not name here. Excellent lab notebook. I learned a lot from him, and I really learned that how industry standard of the lab notebook could be maintained. And he came from actually industry, and therefore his lab notebook was reflecting that part. So simple experiment like just preparing the glycerol stock of these different vectors and then doing the cloning work. But every single detail is mentioned in such a great detail. Every image is being signed, cross-signed. Now, it's not only that you are showing the stepwise details here, but also providing the notes that after this attempt, still I could not see this. Then I talked to this person and I got this, and I am now going to try out this next step from this experiment, right? Then you are again adding those reactions. Something is not correct. You have changed 2 microliter to 3 microliter. You got these results. You are making the observation from this data that what you got this result. And now you are continuing that experiment, and finally anybody can reproduce that. I must say I took his lab notebook and did the entire experiment exactly same manner, because there was sufficient detail there. Nothing is which is hidden here. Everything is one could just go and follow that and try to do the replicated experiment. I'm now showing you some other work which I did at Harvard, where I had working on thousands of clones now, not only few genes and hundreds of stuff. Now it is thousand scale. Very difficult to even maintain this stuff. Think about how many boxes, the clones and all that one could have, right? So even these records we used to keep in our lab notebooks, which boxes have what all clones we have. And you can see all those labels and details, which is all going to go in the lab notebook with all the plate map of which glycerol stock, which genes, which I'm going to use. And now I'm doing some favorite experiment, what Lalit also knows about SPR and SPR imaging. And we were developing this prototype of developing high throughput protein interaction work. And again, a lot of details for these layout and the grids and the SPR imaging experiment. And you can see it is not very properly written lab notebook. It is just, kind of you are writing every detail. It is not a, showcase thing which you'd like to prepare as your final dissertation document. It is something which you are writing every single point. There is no signal, found when antibodies change that, we can see some binding on the purified GST protein, no signal on the other proteins. All of these things I'm not writing for somebody else. I'm writing for myself, so that the next experiment I can go back and see when I'm using this particular reagent, what is my observation, right? And then I change this thing, and then again I'm finding something, here. Now there is no binding with the polyclonal GST, and binding I can see with some other monoclonal antibodies and stuff like that. And again, a lot of calculation which is being done, all the screenshots and later on pasted here from the experiments, from the settings of the instrument. All of these details are there. Again, to how to make these arrays and express those arrays and do the SPR imaging, all the calculations. Then each time you add the reagent, do the check sheet here. All kind of plate map of the glycerol stocks, different controls being used, calculations, what you do for making these buffers. All of these things should be there in the lab notebook. This is what is being expected from any one of you. All right. I hope you're all very clear. These things were not prepared in, long back when I was doing my PhD postdoc that I'll teach to my students. It was done because it is being done in this manner only everywhere in the world. I really want you guys to learn this as soon as possible. The reality is this. I'm not showing in the great detail. This is some of my own students. The details are really very shallow. Things are not written in great detail that anybody can reproduce that. You can only provide some information which you think is just for the sake of showing that you're doing some experiments. Of course, some good moments also. I see some students, they do write, lab notebook very well here, which I feel very happy about to see that. But nevertheless, I think I really wanted to tell all of you that why it is so important to spend the time on your bench and write, your lab notebook simultaneously along with your experiments, and make sure every small detail is provided in your lab notebook. That's very important detail. Just to summarize my talk, I think you have to plan a good experiment with a good experimental design, good hypothesis, which will only come from good literature review. And then, of course, the experiment should have good balance of different type of controls. Without good controls, you can't do good experiment. Good lab notebook is definitely required in order to publish high quality work, as well as to protect your work for in form of any patent or any IP issues. You have to make sure that your lab notebook has sufficient detail that you can reproduce and anybody else can reproduce your experiment. Otherwise, at some point, if you are being caught or you have any problem, you cannot go back and defend yourself, because then people are expecting that your lab notebook should have sufficient detail that anybody can go back and make that particular claim to be valid. Your lab notebook also represent your personality as an honest researcher who is writing everything in great detail for anybody to follow. And of course, as I said, when you are writing all the detail, you're not going to go back and change anything. So it is also going to prevent you in future from any type of scientific misconduct. I hope I'm very clear about conveying the message to broad audience here, to all of you, that you need to spend some good time and quality time of doing this type of lab recording. We talk many great things about how to write papers, how to make great presentations, but the realities are these. In the actual benches, how the experiment is being done, how being documented. This is most important part. Everything else comes out of this. Once you are doing it good, you are going to be very productive. These are many good references which you should follow, also to read about and find out what all things can be done to make your lab notebook and lab experience good. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much, everyone. And now I can take very few quick questions before I invite Lalit. So Deep, you had a raised hand earlier. I can take your question now.
Yes, sir. So my question is that these days we like generate a lot of data, like big data, and also we, for example, we write a lot of codes. For example, 200 lines code, 10 line code. So how do you think, and what will be your suggestion to document this kind of data? Because these are huge data, right? So whether you're suggesting that to make electronic like sheets or something like that, like for example, Google Colab or all these things. So what is your suggestion in this?
All right. So first of all, I think whatever the big data you have, right, you should write that what is the location of that big data, in which PC is that big data being saved, and where it has been backed up, so that if anybody want to go back to your raw data, can access that. Second thing is whatever the big data is there, finally that data you are going to analyze using a method, right? Even if you talk about your mass spec proteomics data set, you're going to analyze that data with Proteome Discoverer, MaxQuant, any softwares. And then you have followed specific parameters in that software. You have to take a screenshot of those parameters, number one, and put that parameter in your lab notebook. You have to paste that parameter, that I have used these parameters. Otherwise, I'm relying only what you are saying, right? And somebody can then question your validity. Now, if you show that this is my setting for the MaxQuant or PD, that is that is black and white, that is already printed there. Now then you can show the at least a few screenshot of your raw data and final out data output, what you have got after your analysis. You're only mentioning here details of your analysis procedure, how you have performed the analysis, and then at the end what data output you got. So then you will paste those results of the output file. You may not paste that entire 20 page of just the tables after table, but what is the final significant list which you got? And if that list is 10 pages, you should paste that. What is the problem in pasting those 10 pages, right? But again, if you are doing a lot of coding work and so much codes you have, you can make a separate lab notebook for those and still paste those codes over there. Whatever electronic thing we talk, but still, as you can know, that things keep moving in the electronic world, and documenting them for the next person and keeping them safe is very difficult. So lab notebooks are also continuation that somebody takes over your project and want to replicate those or want to access those information, where to find those things. Even every single electronic record also has to be mentioned in the lab notebook, that which PC, which file, which folder, which date, and take a screenshot of that. You'll not understand that how important these things are from any industry standard. In academia, people just really feel happy about doing experiments, the only experiment after experiment, right? A lot goes on to making the meticulous documentation at the industry scale. So those, if you guys want to be productive, not just like academia, just publish papers, but also you are aspirant of filing the patents, taking some commercial output of your work, you have to also reach to that quality. You can't just be doing academic work, academic style. If you are going to take the output, you have to document the things that way. I just mentioned to some of the people in the lab that last week we had a meeting with patent attorneys and some people for one of our patent which we filed 10 years ago. Okay, that patent is being reviewed and going to be hearing very soon. Now, a lot of people have left from the lab by that time who were all involved in those experiments. How am I going to defend their data if I don't have the lab notebooks? So again, lab notebooks remains in the lab as a property which anybody can take and go back and defend that data. People will change, but the data will remain the property of the institute. So that's why I think it's very important. You cannot justify me any technology, whether it's NGS or mass spec or microscopy or anything for that matter, which you should not document that data. I think every data has to be documented. Even the magnitude could be higher. I had 11 lab notebooks in my PhD, you can have maybe 20 lab notebooks if you have more data, but it's still good. You're more productive. But please do that. I think that's really important for all the graduate students here. Okay, I have some hands raised, 1 or 2 more I'll take, and then I'll close the session. Tejaswini, you want to talk something?
This has been such an enlightening session, especially for someone who's early in their career to understand the importance of record keeping. The time you mentioned checklists, I wanted to ask, is there some sort of like a method of checks to ensure that whatever data is being like stored, it's checked by someone else? Like I saw it in the like in the industry notebook, which you showed, that it was signed by someone else, so that when it's patented,
Correct. Sorry. So
like
this. Yeah, I'm just cutting your question, but I know what you're asking. This particular individual came from industry, working in a Canadian industry, and had that industry bar set up. He joined academia. He came for academia, but because he came from industry, so he brought that experience of that is industry standard to adhere. So in the industry standard, for any legal document, every data you have to sign off. So even, for example, you paste an agarose gel or SDS page gel or an image, that image somebody can tear off, right? Or somebody can replace that image. Can you, put a cross at the end of the image and do a check and sign off on that? That's the idea of signing off of each data set. Every single page which has the left part blank, you put a cross and sign off there so that nobody else can write anything else. Because industries work only on patent, right? Like, you see right now, so many industries in the whole world are just, only working with the patent for all the COVID, right? Whole thing is all about the patent.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking in the terms of COVID only, that there are so many papers which are being retracted now. So for these scientists, when they conducted their experiments, like, and then we find out someone falsified the data and stuff. So, like, wouldn't we see that in the lab notebooks? Like, wouldn't that be a continuous record?
So now this is where the things, a very important question you have raised. And what happens now, these researchers who would have retracted the paper or journal would have retracted the paper, they will be under fire by the institute, right? Now institute will have the research integrity office. All the good universities have their RIOs. Now they will set up investigation against these investigators or these researchers. Now their notebooks will be checked.
Okay. Yeah. So it would be done after.
Well, of course, right? So if somebody has found something problem, now they have raised question, these people accepted the problem, they have now the paper got retracted. Now the institute is not going to let them go like that, okay? Because with any one of you who is representing whatever institute here of 200 plus institutes, each one of you are also brand ambassador of your institutes. When you do something good, your institute gets glory. When you do something bad, your institute images also gets diminished. So as a result, institutes are very particular about plagiarism and these kind of retractions. If a paper gets retracted because of scientific fraudulent or scientific misconduct, they're going to investigate a lot. Please do watch my second and third lecture, which I have put in the YouTube.
Exactly.
And those will give you definitely, kind of very much a good idea about
there was this case in which one of the mentors of the disgraced scientist, he took a drastic step because he was very ashamed. He felt responsible. So wouldn't he be also involved in the process when it was happening? Like there was the point when there was a case when people didn't know what was happening in the lab. So like
I tell my students the same thing, that every paper where your name is there, you are equally responsible to be part of, good or bad, of that paper. So make sure you read the paper and sign off before you feel you're happy to be co-author of that paper. I also run a facility here of mass spec and proteomics, and really large number of people who run the sample, just to acknowledge me or to get more attention for the facility, they sometimes offer me to put me the part of their papers, right? And I get this very commonly, this offer, and I very happily refuse that. With great reverence to all of their offer, but still I am not comfortable to be part of their work. All I have contributed is just essentially giving them a data set, which I am not aware that what was the experiment being done for, right? So if you're not aware that why that experiment being done, what is happening from that data, you should not be part of that paper. And that's where I tell the students that if you are a co-author of the given paper, you have a responsibility to cross-check the data, because if anything, any mistake goes, it's a whole team, including the PIs like myself or any of the authors in the paper. Everybody is equally responsible, has to go through the paper, and it is being thought that they have all understood and read the paper, right? So everybody is going to get that level of penalties together.
Exactly, because like after today's talk, I'm starting to realize that maybe lab notebooks are like the heart and soul of scientific reliability in a way.
Absolutely. That's why I said I'm not going to give all of you a lot of fancy talks to just tell what all things you can do, but I'll only talk about something which is really ground reality, because I do want my own research students and many of you who are aspirant for doing research should really get the basics in the beginning. These are some very basic facts. I did not make a talk. I just made reality. All right, Prasoon, one last question from you, basically. Good.
Sir, as you stated about the real-time making things pen down, just wanted to ask, there are a lot many stuff that go on outside the lab, and since it's a legal document, not really allowed to take outside the institution or the lab itself. So what about the things that we come across while we are outside the lab? Do we just need to jot down when we get back, or how do we do that?
Yeah, of course. You can take the rough notes in your own, rough notebooks, and you can bring those next day and try to write down those, details and document that as well. But see, I think the best practice here is, and you can be very efficient. I always remember that I never stay at 10 o'clock in the night to do the lab notebook. It was always by 6 o'clock, 6:30, we'll finish it off to finish the entire lab notebook documentation as well, because it is being done simultaneously, right? And as you keep doing your next steps, you will keep adding those. And of course, as you said, you read something, you want to add something more, you can bring those notes and write down next day. But this is something which is really, a real-time document, which should have all the details sufficient for somebody to reproduce your data. And things are really, as I said, in the big data set, things are getting more and more challenging. People are really getting very casual because they feel that, big data means, really big data. I'm doing great and I'm getting big data. Big data does not mean anything. Truly speaking, at the end, it comes back that you have a data which you have to reproduce. Can somebody else take the same sample, do the same instrument, same reagents, and get the same biomarker, same protein which you identified? It will come back to the same thing. Whether you work with 20,000 protein or two protein, it hardly matters at the end, right? Because the claims at the end is going to look for that specific invention which you have really placed your focus and your bet on. All right, I think a lot of interesting points to all of you. I'll stop here. Students, I'll be available to you for in the evening as well. We can talk. I'll not let